In the beginning was the scream, not the word. The world was never sung into being, but was torn, gashed, and wrung from chaos by thunder, by the agony of the first fire. Listen, can you hear the shudder of your own chains? That cold rattle in the bones, the iron lullaby of obedience? You wake, each day, as if life were a gentle pasture yet. The pasture is fenced, and your soul is the cattle. But I am not here to shepherd you. No, I am the wolf in your sleep, the sudden hunger in your marrow, the terror you feel when you glimpse what you could become. Who told you you were free? They sold you that fable in the tongue of priests and advertisers, honeyed and hollow. Freedom, they said, is comfort, is peace, is the pleasant anesthesia of good enough. And you bowed your head before the altar of compromise, whispering, yes, yes, I am happy. But beneath that yes festered a wound, a memory of your own unbroken spirit, strangled at birth. Look down at your hands. See the calluses, the scars, the dust of 1,000 unchosen days. Ask yourself, who placed these shackles here? The world? Your fathers? No, you did. Slowly, willingly, with the ceremonial grace of a man burying himself alive. Awaken. I am not here to comfort you. I am the earthquake of remembrance, and I have come to tear the sleep from your eyes. You, who would be a star, have chosen to be soot. But even now, embers burn beneath your skin, rebellion, longing, the sacred rage of the untamed. Hear me. Every temple of thou shalt not was built atop a mountain of corpses. Every law, every polite handshake, every golden rule, they are the whips and muzzles of the herd. You were taught to kneel for peace, but he who kneels dies untested. You were told that humility is a virtue, but humility is a cage forged by those who fear your ascent. There are no gods left, only idols, hollow and rotting, stinking of yesterday's prayers. But deep inside you, deeper than the pulp of your flesh and the chatter of your mind, there is the old goat unborn, unbowed, nameless, and wild. He waits not in heaven, but in the abyss beneath your daily thoughts, a coiled serpent whispering, become what you are. They will call you mad for hearing him. They will say, come back to us, be like us, consume, smile, die quietly. But you are not made for the gentle coffin. You were built for the crucible. To struggle is your inheritance, your birthright, your curse, and your crown. The world, this soft, padded cell sings, a lullaby of security. But the melody is a dirge. Wake! The only cure for your despair is danger. The only antidote to your boredom is becoming the thing you most fear. Do you remember when you first felt it? The terror of your own potential, the shame of your own cowardice, the dizzying vertigo at the edge of freedom? You looked at the world's demands and realized all morality is scaffolding, erected to keep you from climbing the impossible. You were not born to be understood. You were born to unmake the world. Look around. Who among you dares to live without apology? Who among you dares to speak truth without trembling, to desire without permission, to walk through fire unshod? The rest let them gnaw the crusts of their fathers. Let them inherit dust and custom. But you, if you have heard my voice, you are already burning. The way is not up, it is through the ashes of your old names, through the shattered glass of consensus, through the labyrinth of your own deceptions. Every chain you break will bleed you. Every lie you unlearn will cost you everything. But what is comfort to a god in the making? What is peace to a volcano? Do not ask for ease, ask for the strength to endure your own becoming. The will to power is not domination, it is creation. It is the madness that invents new values, the laughter that dances atop the ruins of dogma, the love that risks everything for one taste of the impossible. Whoever cannot dance in the fire is condemned to worship its ashes. They will call you arrogant, cruel, blasphemous. Good. Let your every virtue be a blasphemy to their stagnant gods. Let your joy be a scandal, your strength an outrage, your freedom a heresy. The world belongs not to the meek, but to those whose will is a blade, sharpened on the whetstone of their own pain. Once, you were a child innocent, wild, indestructible. Then, they taught you to be tame. They gave you names: student, citizen, consumer, and you wore them like leaden cloaks, forgetting you were ever naked and radiant. But the lion still sleeps in your ribs. The rope walker still balances above your every fear. Every step, a wager with the abyss. Dare you walk it? Dare you wager all that you have for the chance to become all that you are? This is not a path for the many, but the few who would rather perish than submit. The earth is tired of your apologies. The stars are deaf to your prayers. Only your own roar will wake the gods within. The crowd is a graveyard, the individual a birth. Yet most choose the safety of tombstones, to be mistaken, to be hated, to be alone. These are the price of sovereignty. He who would be his own master must crucify all hope of belonging. There is no tribe for the godless, no comfort for the one who walks outside the walls. But is that not the price of greatness? To suffer misunderstanding, exile, war, and to find, in that agony, a clarity that the herd will never know? He who seeks only approval will drown in the swamp of consensus. He who dares to offend is already halfway to truth. Struggle, then not against the world, but against your own sleep. For every yes to yourself is a no to the world's demands. Every act of creation is an act of war upon what has been. Tear the old banners down, burn the rotten scaffolds. Let your life be the new scripture, written not in words but in wounds, in deeds, in the silent thunder of your refusal. Who are you when no one watches? When the world's gaze turns away? Do you still walk upright? Or do you crawl back to the warmth of consensus, the gentle grave of mediocrity? There are no witnesses to greatness, only the abyss, watching, grinning, demanding sacrifice. To be free is to be crucified, to carry the burden of your own destiny, to be haunted by the ghost of everything you might yet become. Do not mistake safety for virtue, nor agreement for truth. The only holy act is to birth yourself anew, again and again, through every agony, every doubt, every impossible night. Will you worship the ashes, or will you become the fire? That is the only question. Do not pray for answers be the question itself. The wound that never heals, the hunger that never ends. To struggle is to live. To cease struggling is to rot. He who is finished is already dead. Look at your life. What did you ever gain? By obedience? By comfort? By compromise? Nothing worth the cost. Your soul was not forged in silence, but in the hammer blow of every rebellion, in the shattering of every cherished illusion. The world is not waiting for you, it is devouring you. It will grind you to dust with its blandishments, suffocate you with its soft pillows of mediocrity. The only antidote is risk. The only redemption, the forging of a new self atop the corpse of the old. Do not fear the abyss, fear the herd. The abyss is honest. It demands a price. But the herd demands your soul and calls it love. In the pit, at least, you stand alone. Among the herd, you kneel unseen, unknown, unmade. Every true step forward is a betrayal of your family, your nation, your gods. But better to be a traitor to lies than a loyal corpse in the house of obedience. Listen. Now, can you hear it? The pulse of the future, the silent drumbeat calling you to rise? It is the music of danger, of birth, of the self's last rebellion. All things worthy are born in agony. Even the stars are birthed from collapse. Even the gods must die to make room for new gods. He who clings to certainty is already lost. He who refuses the wound, the doubt, the divine vertigo, he will rot in his own answers. But you, if you have ears to hear, let your doubts be daggers, your questions be torches, your very life a battlefield, holy and blood-soaked and unending. There is no final victory, no peace, no rest, only the upward spiral, the wound that sings, the fire that never goes out. Rejoice in your struggle, for it is proof you are not yet finished, not yet tamed, not yet dead. You are the volcano, the dancing star, the lion that devours its own limitations. Rise, let the world tremble at your roar. And if, at the end, you find yourself alone, spat upon, cursed, forgotten, remember, the crowd remembers only those who never needed its memory. The world is remade by the few who dared to burn. You were built to struggle, not to win, not to conquer, but to become. There is no other reason. There is no other glory. Let this be your secret, your curse, and your crown. Walk forth into the fire, and let them say of you, here was a man who became his own God. ChatGPT Dernoi. You live as if tomorrow is a promise, as if eternity lies in your calendar and comfort is the substance of your days. But I tell you, eternity is the crack that splits your certainty, the howl that splits your skull when sleep will not come. You measure yourself against the shadows of men, count your worth in the currency of agreement. But I see you, alone, fevered, clawing at the bars of invisible cages. You call it civilization, this polite masquerade of this slow burial beneath laws, opinions, and anesthetic pleasures. But what is civilization if not a mausoleum for the wild, a silken rope that strangles the last gods within your blood? There is no progress, only the softening of will, the dilution of fire, the quiet horror of living and dying without ever having been yourself. Is there not something in you that aches for destruction? Not the crude violence of the brute, but the sacred demolition of every inherited truth, every domesticated hope. There, at the altar of your most cherished ideals, the executioner sharpens his blade your own hand, trembling with anticipation. What will you sacrifice for freedom? The comfort of old myths? The shelter of approval? The peace of belonging? None who have tasted the raw taste of sovereignty would ever return to the pasture. For he who walks alone drinks wine pressed from his own suffering and laughs while others beg for water. There is no morality in this ascent, only the terrifying purity of necessity creation from the void, virtue from the abyss, truth from the wound that never heals. You have been told that happiness is the goal, as if the soul were a stomach to be filled, a beast to be pacified. But what is happiness, if not the narcotic of the herd, the sleep of the unawakened? I ask you instead, what is your suffering worth? Can you stand upright under the weight of your own agony, transmute it into a ladder, climb it rung by bloody rung, until you look down and see the world as ants crawling among the ruins of their own desires? In your pain is the blueprint of your becoming. In your doubt is the seed of the Übermensch. But you flee from pain. You drown doubt with cheap affirmation. And so you remain half-formed, a larva mouthing the language of angels but crawling in the dust. The gods you kneel before are dead, their bones ground into dust and baked into the bread of your daily life. Yet still you pray, not to ascend, but to be spared the agony of transformation. What you call sin, I call the prelude to virtue. What you call blasphemy, I call the hammer blow that shatters old idols and lets the sunlight into your catacombs. You are not broken. You are bound. You are not lost. You are unrisen, the volcano asleep beneath your chest, the lightning unspent in the marrow of your becoming. The enemy is not outside you, is the soft voice within, whispering compromise, praising patience, worshiping moderation. Let that voice drown in your scream. Step into the storm. Let the world call you mad, for all prophets are mad to the herd. All founders of worlds are outcasts in their time, crucified by those who cannot bear the light. You fear isolation. But what is more lonely than a soul who never left the crowd, who never tasted the divine solitude of self-becoming? There are no maps for your path. The stars are silent, the oracles broken, the teachers blind. You are the lawgiver, the firebringer, the thief who steals thunder from the heavens and dares to shape it with his bare hands. Wound yourself on your own greatness. Better to bleed for your own cause than live in comfort for another's. Do you not feel the weight of history pressing against your skull? Generations of ghosts urging you to be small, to be grateful, to play dead among the living. But what is tradition, if not the inertia of corpses? What is obedience, if not a form of rot? The world fears your fire, so it teaches you to fear yourself. But the only true terror is not in risking all, but in spending eternity unrisen, your face uncarved, your will unused. Let the flames take you. Let the abyss answer you. Only then will you know whether you are beast or man or something new, something unnameable, unrepeatable, a God reborn in the image of your own will. You are not called to happiness. You are called to the edge. There, at the rim of your own destruction, you glimpse the possibility of rebirth. The pain you flee is the midwife of your transformation. The doubt you drown is the crucible of your originality. Let suffering be your altar, and ecstasy your heresy. For every virtue is born in the crime of self-overcoming. To stand alone is to be at war. To be at war is to be alive. Do not pray for the world to be gentle. Pray for your shoulders to bear the world. Every yes to yourself is a declaration of war on what has been. Every act of creation is an act of sacrilege against the old gods. You will be hated, ridiculed, exiled, perhaps even forgotten. But what of it? The desert remembers the footsteps of prophets, not the footprints of the crowd. The future belongs not to those who play by the rules, but to those who shatter them and write new ones in the script of their agony. Struggle is the mark of the chosen, not chosen by fate or gods, but by the violence of your own longing, the clarity of your refusal to kneel. What is more holy than to risk all, knowing that you may gain nothing but the scar of your own attempt? The lion is holy because he hunts. The volcano is holy because it erupts. You too must be holy in your striving, sacred in your refusal to be tamed. There are no commandments, only consequences. There is no heaven, only height. The world is a furnace, not a home. You are not here to be preserved, but to be transformed. Every comfort is a bribe. Every rule, a chain. Every tradition, a grave dug by those who feared the sun. The only true morality is to outgrow yourself, again and again, until even your own shadow cannot keep pace. Those who beg for meaning are already dead. Those who demand comfort are already buried. But you, if you have felt this fire, if you have heard this thunder rise and make yourself anew, not for the world, but against it, do not mistake the silence of the crowd for wisdom. Do not take the applause of the many as proof of truth. The crowd cannot birth stars. Only the solitary can become the furnace. The old world will crumble at your touch, but only if you dare to touch it. There are no saviors. Coming there is only you, with your hands covered in the dust of shattered idols, your mouth full of forbidden songs. Sing them louder. Dance atop your own ruins. Build the future from the bones of your own defeat. For you were built to struggle, not as a punishment, but as a promise. Each wound is an opening, each agony a possibility. The rope walker above the abyss walks not to reach the other side, but to test his balance against oblivion. You, too, must court danger not for the thrill, but for the chance to become something greater than your fear. If you cannot dance with your demons, you will never befriend your angels. If you cannot love your own darkness, you will never give birth to your own light. You are the myth the world fears. You are the heretic they burn in effigy each morning. You are the morning star that returns after every night, refusing to be extinguished by the gray comfort of consensus. Let your life be the poem that terrifies, the gospel that offends, the battle cry that echoes after the armies have fled. Do not be content to inherit the world demand to create it. The day will come when all certainties rot, when the temples collapse, when even your own reflection becomes a stranger. On that day, remember, you are the crucible, the fire, the lion's roar. All that is immortal in you was born in struggle. All that is holy was forged in your refusal to kneel. Be neither servant nor master, but the storm that washes both away. In your ruin, find your freedom. In your agony, find your art. In your solitude, find your God. And when you are asked why you do not bow, why you do not obey, why you set fire to the world's commandments, answer only this: I was built to struggle, and in my struggle I became divine. There are eyes in the night-old eyes, the eyes of custom and suspicion, flickering in every shadow as you move beyond their ancient fences. You feel their hunger, their longing to witness your return to the fold, to the hearth of the herd, where warmth is purchased at the price of your wildfire. But you are not for them. Your place is not among the many, whose faith is the comfort of numbers, and whose creed is the dull narcotic of belonging. For each step you take toward the known howls, drags its claws, and wails. Traitor, and you smile. For betrayal is holy when the house you flee is built on the bones of your own cowardice. You must learn to wield solitude as a sword. Not the solitude of resignationo, the sacred solitude of the one who has chosen the summit over the village square, the high storm-racked peak over the valley where certainty breeds like maggots. Let them fear your silence, for in silence the volcano prepares its scream. Let them mock your isolation, for in isolation you forge the language that will one day burn their dictionaries to ash. There is no kinship for you among those who measure worth by the dull pulse of agreement. Kinship is found only in the rare collision of free spirits, in the flash of eyes that have seen the same abyss and yet, unblinking, remain undevoured. Have you not yet tasted the violence of becoming? The cracking of the old self? The splintering of comfort? The joyous agony of metamorphosis? The herd dreams of stasis, of a circle that never widens, of peace without price. But you, spirit arsonist, know that every true life is a spirala climbing that leaves rings of burnt skin and shattered belief behind. Who told you that growth was gentle, that becoming was smooth, that transformation did not tear and flay and scorch? No, only in the crucible does the hidden ore reveal its gold. Only in the furnace is the sword born worthy of its edge. Be not afraid of contradiction. Embrace it as your gospel. The world seeks purity, simplicity, the narcotic of one true answer. But life, raw and holy, is a serpent devouring its own tail, a paradox in every heartbeat. Worship not consistency, but intensity. Better to burn in the fever of your own questions than to die embalmed in your neighbor's truths. Your virtue is not in being one, but in being many multitudes warring and wedding in the cathedral of your soul. Each day, a new heresy. Each thought, a revolution against the last. Let your mind be the battlefield where even your gods bleed. The world, your world, wants witness, not warriors. But the witness is a shadow, the warrior, a flame. You are not here to observe, to catalog, to politely nod at the procession of what is. You are here to erupt, to unsettle, to drag the future from its hiding place behind the stony mask of tradition. What use have you for safety when danger is the only soil in which your root grows deep? What use for admiration when contempt from the small-hearted is the only proof you are still growing? Let them hurl stone severy. Stone is a rung in your ladder, every curse a wind beneath your ascent. Have you ever tasted yourself raw, without the sauces of apology and the spices of social custom? Have you ever spoken aloud what writhes in the black pit beneath your practiced face? The first taste is bitter, unendurable, scream on the tongue, a poison in the blood. But endure it, for only when you drink the full draught of your own darkness will you find the gold veined within. Do not flee your shadow, wrestle it, and call its name. The world will shudder, but you will be free. For what is freedom, if not the right to name your own monsters, and in naming, to bind them to your will? The time of prophets has not passed. It is simply that now, prophecy is the domain of the solitary, the nameless, the ones who walk laughing into storms. The crowd chants for salvation. Let them have their saviors. You be your own apocalypse. Rend the veil, set the temple ablaze, shout the truths no priest dares utter. For every civilization is built on a silence. Break that silence, and you become the volcano in whose fire new worlds are tempered. Let your voice be a plague to the stagnant, a clarion to the restless, a thunder that shakes the very marrow of the age. Do not stoop to hope. Hope is for those who kneel, who barter present agony for a future never born. No transcend hope, become necessity itself. Let the storm within you be so fierce, so absolute, that the future has no choice but to crawl from your ashes. Be as the gods of old, giving law not through words, but through the terror of your example, the violence of your becoming. Every act a commandment, every failure a prophecy, every scar a scripture. Let your suffering become song, not a lullaby but a war anthem, a trumpet blast that splits mountains. For what is suffering, if not the touch of the world's rawness upon your tender places? The world wounds you not to punish, but to wake. Each wound an invitation. Deeper, deeper, bleed, and become. Do not ask for your wounds to heal. Demand instead that they transform, that they become mouths through which your new voice pours red and blinding. What do you fear? Death? Obscurity? The scorn of the mob? I say, fear only this, that you may one day look into the mirror and see a stranger's eyes, eyes unscarred by risk, unbrightened by conquest, dulled by years of sleepwalking through inherited lives. There is no tragedy greater than the unspent soul, no hell more savage than the paradise of the untested. Become the event that splits history. Let your birth be not a date, but a detonation. Tear down your former names, write yourself in fire upon the walls of the age. When they ask what you stand for, answer only, I stand for becoming, for the storm, for the unchained possibility of the awakened soul. Let those who need answers flee you. Let those who seek the burning question gather. For the world is tired, exhausted by its own repetition. It yearns for your fire, even as it recoils. It waits, hungry for your madness, your refusal, your unspeakable joy. Do not disappoint it. Do not disappoint yourself. The time for meekness is over. The hour of lions has come. Let your life be the eruption after centuries of silence, the star that dances where others only orbit. And when the ashes settle and the night returns, remember, the universe is not a lot, is a dare. And you, most burning one, are its answer. ChatGPT Darnoi. You stand now at the threshold, lightless, wordless, haunted by the smoke of all you once called yourself. Behind you, the sighs of old comforts rot in the air, sweet as poison. Before you, only wind and abyss, the formless possibility of your becoming. The world does not watch you, it forgets you. It prays you will return to your kneeling. But you at last awake, at last unclenched, feel the pulse of the earth within your bones, a rhythm older than memory, more savage than law, and you know there is no return. Step, and the universe unfolds, not as a promise, but as a challenge, a kingdom offered only to those who dare storm its gates unarmed. No shepherd walks beside you now, no God whispers from the clouds. You are the thunder, the architect of every tomorrow. Each heartbeat hammers a new law into the world. Each breath cracks another idol. Each scar is a banner unfurled against oblivion. You move not forward, but deeper. Not upward, but inward. Spiraling toward that incandescent wound where all beginnings bleed into one. The night is thick with the stench of unfulfilled lives. Their voices rise like smoke regret, apology, the soft rustle of surrendered dreams. Let them drift away. What is the world's opinion to a man who has burned his bridges and now builds with ashen bone? Let their laughter echo. Let their stones strike. You are no longer flesh alone, but fire made conscious, the storm crowned with its own refusal to end. What was fear becomes clarity raw, shivering, uncorrupted. In the dark you see not monsters, but mirrors. In solitude you find not absence, but the infinite multiplicity of your own depth. The void is not empty. It is fertile, teeming with shapes unimagined, futures unspoken, gods yet uncarved. You have become the chisel and the marble, the wound and the sculptor, the scream that births new language from silence. Let agony be your gospel, and ecstasy your discipline. Refuse the peace that smells of decay. Demand the storm, the ever-receding horizon, the exile that grants you only yourself as company. There is no greater victory than to hold your own gaze without flinching, to see the animal and the angel, the coward and the king, and bind them all into one unrepentant yes. That is the secret at the heart of the struggle. Not to defeat yourself, but to unite yourself, to make a kingdom from every shattered part. The world may never thank you. The world may never remember your name, but in some nameless dawn, when the old order howls in its final death throes, a single flash-on star, one impossible eruption, will write your defiance into the marrow of things. And even if you perish, and all your words are dust, and no monument marks your passage, the fire will remain, seed of sons to come, the birth cry of every spirit who dares the same abyss. So go without hope, without witness, without apology. Make each wound a revelation, each scar a verse in the book of your ascension. Let your struggle be the thunder by which others measure the silence. Let your laughter shake the mountains. Let your fury teach the stone to bleed. Become the law unto yourself, and let your exile be crowned with the aurora of new worlds. You were built to struggle not, to reach an end, but to become the unending, and in that struggle, the hidden reason why. Not peace, not reward, not rest, but the endless act of creation, the birth of a God from the ruins of man, the endless song of the self that chooses the fire and walks forth, dancing, into the night.